Hello, everybody. We have Naya Swami Asha with us today. She will be coming on a tour through Europe, excitingly, and so we are happy to have the opportunity to talk with her. Welcome, Asha, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's a great joy to be talking to you, and it will be even more delightful to be in the same physical location after all these years of separation.
Yeah,
I look forward to it very much.
we too. I wanted
Uh-huh.
to just briefly talk a little bit about, I don't know whether that leads anywhere, but I wanted to talk about the countries or the continents because Yogananda talked about India and about America. I
Uh-huh.
mean, he came to sort of unite these two, say, poles to, and he just briefly, one might say, he said India is sort of the spiritual guide of the world, and America has a huge quality in practicality and getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
So you will now be coming to Europe. So I know that Yogananda also briefly mentioned Europe, and Swami also certainly traveled a lot to Europe and founded a community in Italy. So do you have what is your view on Europe? Do you have any feeling about what the role of Europe is, or where Europe sort of stands in the greater scheme of things? I don't know whether that makes any sense.
Well, I'm a little beyond my portfolio because partly just because English is my only language, I don't have as deep a feeling for non-English speaking countries as I could, and I haven't lived in Europe. I've only lived here in the US. So they'll put those thoughts together. India is the only continuous culture on this planet. All the other ancient cultures have come and gone. The landmass is still there. There's still the name is still there, but the Indian culture has been continuous and has been the same teaching all the way through, even though, of course, the vagaries of civilization go up and down. And they call their teaching, as I mentioned, not Hinduism. That was imposed by the British, that name. Sanatan Dharma, which means has two definitions that I like. One is the eternal truth, but the one I like is more humble, that which is the way we're made and how we find happiness and how we avoid suffering, which is all anybody wants. During the age of matter, which is just ending, consciousness on this planet was so dense that you couldn't quite be both beyond this world and in it at the same time. But now we're finding that people want to integrate their spirituality into practical life. And so that's what the East West represents. West is specialized in external achievement. India has maintained internal understanding. And of the Western side, the American side, and I don't mean that chauvinistically, it's just that America is a newer country and was able basically to establish itself on a very different basis. When I first traveled to Europe, I was so impressed. This was actually in Italy. I went to Florence, and all of the Italians were very proud of the fact that Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were from Florence there. And I was just in America, and you had nothing behind you. You could have no pride for anything because there was nothing behind us. We obliterated the high civilization that was here, the American Indians, and we just had nothing. Everything that you were, you had to make for yourself. And that is a very positive thing. So America became the place where a new way of living could be explored. And that's why Yogananda came to America. He could have gone to any country in the world, was because there was less baggage. He also said that Americans have a very can-do spirit because we're not encumbered by history as much. And he said in India, when people would talk about self-realization, the Indians would say, "Oh, yes, but many lifetimes it will take, and I have karma and this." He said, when Master said he came to America and told Americans about realizing God, the attitude of the American was, "Sure, we can do it." Just a sort of naive enthusiasm, which makes many Americans seem like adolescents to other cultures. But in this respect, it was very helpful. And so he planted it here, and now it's moving all over the world. But the European side is every culture has something wonderful about it. Just some aspect that they've specialized in. Swamiji always said one of the practices the Yogananda taught is something called the energization exercises, where you use your willpower, you tense your muscles, and then you consciously relax. He said, in every country, you say to tense as hard as you can, but not in Germany. It's very dangerous to tell Germans are to tense as hard as they can, because they can,
They will hurt themselves.
But what a magnificent quality, just a magnificent quality that is. And, the Italians have this love of beauty and this creativity and this reverence for saints. And you can just, run through it all. Everybody has something wonderful to contribute. And each of us are born into whatever culture and body we're born into, as Swami sometimes put it, to specialize on behalf of the human race in those particular virtues. And I think now, as we're beginning to pull the world together, the more we can all meet each other and see both the virtues that we bring to it, the weaknesses that we have, to admire what others have developed that we haven't necessarily developed in the same way, the more it just starts breaking down all these barriers. And in the end, this is so temporary. All of culture, all of ethnicity is just the body that you're living in. And this body's going to die. And the jiva will continue and will choose another one that suits it exactly. So I think in the interest of everybody's potential, the more we can meet each other and realize and recognize the divine with one another and celebrate the eccentricities of one another. And then just when Yogananda left India to go to America, his guru said to him, forget that you were an Indian, but don't become an American. He said, take the best of every culture and make that our ideal human being. And what better way to do that than we come together and we carry this message around. In my own personal life, because I had the unique opportunity to be, well, not unique, but now not accessible opportunity to be in Swami Kriyananda's presence for so many years. And he filled me with his teachings with an extraordinary spirit of generosity. And again, I'm not trying to be sectarian in saying this, because I know there's many wonderful ways, but this is the one that I understand. And I think it's very helpful for everybody. And I think it's wonderful to come into an environment that is not familiar to me and with people that I don't yet know, and then discovering how much we can do together to expand each other's awareness and to help. And how that manifests globally, everything starts individually. And sometimes a giant vision helps us, sometimes it doesn't. But when you get up in the morning, you're not living on the great global stage. You're just living in your own house and in your own room. And the more we can just share and attune ourselves one-to-one, and group to group, I think just the more powerful the band of light will be. I no longer think in terms of light and darkness. I think in terms of light and shadow, because you can't even have a shadow unless you have light. And all that a shadow is that something is blocking the light. And I feel a great compelling sense of desire to help. And I think just everywhere that people can move a little out of the shadow and more into the light, that's the whole purpose. All these chaotic times, they're not here to end the world. They're just here to inspire us to rise to who we're meant to be. And every link that can be made in that wonderful chain of light is going to push the shadow farther away.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody who watched now, you can see Asha in real life in Europe. She will be in Italy, in France, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the UK. As
5
far,
countries.
yeah, it's like that, right? So you will certainly find all the links and everything down below wherever you watch this. And yes, take the chance. By any means, do that. And we are very much looking forward to having you over here in good old Europe, Asha. And thank you very much for being with us today.
My joy, my joy.